Hello, today I want to show you MindView. MindView is a mind mapping tool that's optimized for students with special needs to assist them in reading, writing, and comprehension. A little bit of background with MindView. So 15 years ago, we started developing MindView as a general reading and writing tool for all students. Over the past 6 or 7 years, we've optimized the tool for students with special needs. Because what we found was students that had ADHD, dyslexia, the autism spectrum, TBI, executive function disorder, they shared a few common diagnoses. And those common diagnoses were sequencing data, memory retention, and communication. So what we've done is we've put specific features within MindView to help combat those common diagnoses. So as I go through this presentation, I'm going to take on the role of a student that had a writing assignment, and I'm going to show you how the student would use the software in that environment. But I'm also going to point out those different features that we've put in to help those common diagnoses. So let's move over to MindView. One thing to note, MindView is an online tool. It's an online software. So it can be accessed on any device, whether it be a tablet, iPhone, smartphone, Mac, Windows. It kind of eliminates that question of does it work on a Mac or does it work on a PC. MindView works anywhere that you have a connection. The other thing that you're going to notice right off the bat is that it looks like a Microsoft Office tool. So we're partners with Microsoft, gold partners with Microsoft. And the reason we kind of mimicked that ribbon system is because it's very intuitive for students to jump in and start using the software. They don't have to learn a whole new interface. And not only does it look like an Office tool, it's going to function like an Office tool. So a lot of those keyboard shortcuts you're going to find within MindView as well. So let's get started. Let's say the student had an assignment on famous authors. And what famous authors are we going to talk about? How about Hemingway, how about Joyce, and if you make a mistake you can just type right back over it. And all I'm doing is pressing enter to get these different items here. Essentially what the student is creating is an outline for their Word document, which I'm going to show you a little bit later. So now let's say the student wants to add some branches, let's say early years and famous works. Now if you type or spell as bad as I do, there is a spell check built in for you as well. So all I was doing was pressing enter to get the level branch and then pressing insert to get multiple levels out here. Now, I mentioned it worked like an Office tool. So all we have to do is highlight a branch. I can do Control-C, Control-V, Control-V, and Control-V. So again, what the student is doing is building an outline for this document. So Hemingway, for example, is going to be a main chapter, and then we're just building the sub-chapters as well. Now, for a student with dyslexia, a common thing that they struggle with is working on a white background. So a lot of dyslexia students know the particular color background that they like to work on best. So within the software, you can actually change the different color background. Also, remember when I said earlier that a common diagnosis is students that struggle with sequencing data. So within MindView, you can add a numbering scheme. And the numbering scheme allows you to see that there is a hierarchy that's built in, but it also allows the student to see how this is going to get exported out to Word into PowerPoint. So Hemingway will be first, and then it just kind of works itself around clockwise. Now, Let's say the student just brainstormed here, but now we want to put this in chronological order. So everything in MindView is based on drag and drop. So maybe I want Hemingway last, maybe Austen is first, I think Dickens would be third, and then of course Joyce would be last. Now even further, let's say now that we've got this outline of our Word document, we want to develop the text. So maybe we want to say she was born in So again, when we export this out, the text is going to start developing the paragraph under each one of these main topics. Now, according to the mind mapping theory, if you can start adding pictures or visual cues, that's supposed to help retain memory. And remember, memory was one of those common diagnoses. So we have a multimedia catalog. So if I type in Austen, comes up with Austen. Again, everything's based on drag and drop, so I can just left click, drag and drop over to the branch I want to put Austen on, and it puts her picture there. Now, one thing to note, every MindView works with all screen readers, and taking that even a step further, these pictures are tagged correctly. So when a screen reader scrolls over this, it's not going to read 1234.jpg, which means nothing to the student that's visually impaired. It'll actually read it as Jane Austen. So once again, all the pictures are tagged correctly. Now, let's say the student did some research on his own, and he had a picture of Hemingway that he wanted to put in here. So all you have to do is go to Branch Picture, go find the picture, and we just click on Upload, and it'll upload that picture. Along with just adding visual pictures as a stimulus, you can also change the color or format of a branch as well. So if you want a branch to stand out, you just highlight the branch, go to Fill Color, and you can change branches at a time as well. So just to reiterate what we're doing here, or what the student is doing here, they're brainstorming in this non-linear fashion. So it's much easier for them to kind of free think and get their thoughts down. And essentially, again, what they're doing is Austen here is going to be a chapter in Word. These are going to be the sub-chapters. And then, of course, anything that we put in the text note editor is going to start building those paragraphs. So it should be pretty straightforward there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a template. So this is just a bigger version of what I was working on. You can see the student has added pictures under each branch. Also in the text note editor, under each one of these items, they've developed the text further, famous works, early years, etc., etc. So one thing I want to point out is that we're also partners with TextHelp. You may have heard of TextHelp Read and Write Bold. Well, what we've done is we've incorporated their predictive text within MindView. One of the reasons we chose TextHelp is because they've got the best dictionary for homonyms and homophobes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Insert. I'm going to turn on the predictive text. I'm going to press Insert here. I'm going to start spelling some words wrong. You can automatically see I spelled there wrong. So there are So the last thing I want to show you as far as features here within the map is one of the coolest features I think we have, and it's our citation feature. So there's a lot of citation tools out there like EndNote Aid. which EndNote 8 is a great citation tool. The problem with EndNote 8 is that you have to close down the program that you're in, and then you have to open up another program like EndNote 8 to use it. So a lot of times with students that have ADHD, for example, that's very distracting. So what we want to do is build the citations within the software. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a branch off of Charles Dickens and say Oliver Twist. And a famous quote from Oliver Twist. And again, if you spell or type as bad as I do, we've got a spell check for you. So now what I want to do is cite this source. Now using the citation tool in MindView is super easy. It's 2 steps. 1, you find the source. 2, you insert the citation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Manage Sources. I'm going to add a source. One thing you'll notice, this is powered by WorldCat. WorldCat is a partner of ours as well, and it's just an online library of like 2.1 billion sources, something like that. Now with the student, they can find their source either by title, author, ISBN number, or they can just search for it. And I'm going to search for Oliver Twist. And it comes up with any type of film, journal, or book that's associated with Oliver Twist. So I'm just going to select it, hit save, and hit OK. Now I found my source. Now what I want to do is insert the citation. So I just go to Insert Citation. You've seen I've done this before, so I've got a couple of choices here. I'm going to select the top one, and it was on page 22. And there it's inserted the citation. So I know what you're thinking right now. You're thinking, well, that's great to insert the citation, but is that in MLA, is it in APA, what type of format can you put that in? Within MindView, it's format free, let's call it that. But here's the nice part about MindView, as I had alluded to this earlier, is that now we can export this over to Word. So the student is going to go to Export. We can export to Word. We can also export over to Google Docs as well. So I'm going to click on Word. Now here's the cool part. I can select from APA, Harvard, ISO, Chicago, or MLA. Obviously APA and MLA are probably the most popular. And then under the General tab, we can decide what we want included in this export as well. Now I know pictures are frowned upon when exporting out to an essay, and we can not include the branch pictures. I'm going to go ahead and include them just so you can kind of see what it looks like. So I'm going to click on OK. Give MindView just a second to export. Here we go. So let me pull up this Word document. Editing. So it includes a cover page for me. So it includes the cover page. I scroll down here. It automatically makes this interactive table of contents for me. I click on Jane Austen. Now remember, Jane Austen was that main branch with a picture. Also, if you remember, Early Years was a sub-branch with a picture, and also all this text was in that text note editor. So basically the student did all the work in a nonlinear fashion, was able to take that information and export it over to Word in an academic format. You'll notice here is that please sir may I have another cited correctly. Now the coolest part, I think, if this is not cool already, I'm going to scroll down here, it automatically creates that bibliography as well. So pretty cool. Now another option, let's say the student was in a speech class, for example. Well, they can also export this over to PowerPoint. And what we've heard through a lot of teachers in school that we work with is that students now use PowerPoint as kind of a study guide for slides. So again, if I want to export this over to PowerPoint, you just find a template. Doodle's a pretty good one. And then you can decide whatever you want in the export as well, or the student can. And just to reiterate this, it's following that numbering scheme of how it exports. So it starts at the 1 o'clock position and then rotates itself around clockwise. So again, those students that are struggling with sequencing data, they can visually see how everything's going to be lined up in the Office exports or the Google Doc exports as well. Alright, so kind of pop down here to early years again. So remember, early years was a sub-branch, so we put that heading up here. We have the picture, everything in the text note. Basically, if I scroll down to here on the left, you can see it just formats the entire PowerPoint presentation for the student. Okay, I'm going to show you one other example and then I'll wrap it up for you. So a lot of students struggle with executive function disorder, have been diagnosed with executive function disorder. Basically, what executive function disorder is, students have a hard time planning, organizing, and visualizing. Well, that's right up MindView's alley. And let me show you an example of how a student used that. So I'm going to open up this Introduction to Accounting. Now, this is kind of a university level example, but it works, in the K-12 arena as well. You can put any subject in the middle here. But this is an interesting example because what the student was doing is he was taking this map every time he went to class and just building it as the class developed. And one unique function with our software is that you can attach any type of data to the branch and any amount of data. So for example, like this was the syllabus in a Word document. This was the PowerPoint presentation that the teacher or professor was using that day. These items are the text note editor, so the student was actually taking some notes. This is a hyperlink over to a website explaining what accounting is. And this is a unique example as well because this student wasn't a very good typer. So he would record everything the professor was saying and then he would attach it to the branch itself. And just so you know, it's super easy to attach files. Literally, you go to highlight the branch you want to attach, go to attachment, just kind of like the picture earlier, you find it and upload, and then you've got it there, and it actually launches from there as well. Now, this is nice because it helps the student plan and organize. You're not jumping through a myriad of folders and subfolders to find the relevant content. But the other nice part about this is every time a quiz came up, every time midterms came up, the student would export this over to a Word document, and everything that was attached would be exported as well. So then it became a really nice study guide for the students as well. Now, the last thing I really want to touch on is the fact that this is a collaboration tool as well. So here's all my files. So let's say there's a case of a tutor and a student working together on this project, or this essay, I should say. and the student and the tutor meet once a week every Monday. Well, the student and the tutor can work together, but also the student and the tutor can share this file and work on this file together as well. So as the student is working on this file and this essay throughout the week, the tutor can jump in and make comments and help the student out. So they don't have to be one-on-one setting, because of the collaborative nature of the software. Also works great for group projects that students are working on. Again, there is a collaborative nature of the software. But basically, that's the software really in a nutshell. I think I've illustrated that this is a great tool for any students that struggle with reading and writing. It's a great way for them to plan, to brainstorm. But I hope I really pointed out that this is really the only truly assistive mind mapping tool, because we've specifically put features in to help students with learning disabilities such as autism, such as executive function disorder, dyslexia, and ADHD. So let me know if you have any questions or if I skipped something that you want to see. But thank you very much for attending.